Så er klokken blevet 1 minut over 10, og jeg vil gerne byde alle sammen velkommen her til vores lille webinar omkring remote connectivity. Og vi kører det i dag fra Wexøe og fra Sverige, så Davor, som er vores repræsentant fra HMS, han sidder over i Sverige, og vi kører det meste af præsentationen. Så jeg siger lige next til Davor, og så skifter han en gang. Så har vi nemlig et billede af Davor og undertegnet Per, som de to, der repræsenterer Wexøe i dag. Next, please. Lige lidt omkring det, vi skal igennem i dag på den her halve time, og vi håber, vi kan nå det. Vi slutter af med en lille spørgerunde. Hvis der er nogen, der har spørgsmål, så er I meget velkommen til at melde ind der. Skulle der være brug for yderligere, så er vi selvfølgelig også til rådighed bagefter. Og det kan også være i form af et besøg, hvis I har brug for det. Next, please. Lille kort introduktion af Wexøe, hvis der er nogen, der har tvivl om, hvem vi var. Vi har eksisteret siden 1958. Vi er over 60 dedikerede medarbejdere. Hovedkontor i Værløse, hvor vi også har vores lagervæggen. Og har et regionalt kontor over i Vejle. Og så har vi også repræsenteret over i Lund, hvor vi har vores svenske afdeling. Vi er bestående af 4 divisioner. Vi har vores solution, vi har installation, vi har power, og så har vi industri, som jeg kommer fra, som repræsenterer næsten 50% af vores omsætning i Wexøe. Vi vil gerne være kendt for at gå ud og sælge nogle fornuftige løsninger til vores kunder, og derfor holder vi også det her webinar i dag, hvor vi skal snakke om remote connectivity, som er meget op i tiden, kan man sige, fordi alle de steder, hvor de ikke kunne komme ud fysisk på grund af corona og noget, jamen, så har man mulighed for at koble sig op via et E1-modul eller noget lignende. Next. Vores lille team, industriteamet. Over til venstre her har vi os, der er udfarende i marken, og til højre har vi de interne teknikere og produktfolk, som sidder her i Værløse. Next. Vi sendte en invitation ud, og i den forbindelse var der nogle spørgsmål, vi gerne vil have I svaret på, og det er også blevet gjort. Og svarene de er så her. Hvis jeg lige læser dem op, så havde vi et spørgsmål, der hedder undersøgelsen viser, at mindre end 30% af virksomhederne har gennemført en plan for digitalisering og herunder remote connectivity. Er det også din vurdering? Og det var der faktisk 67%, der mente det var. Så de 30%, det er måske endda i underkanten af, hvad virkeligheden er. Der sættes oftest lighedstegn mellem remote connectivity og risiko for cyberangreb. Er det også din oplevelse, spurgte været? Og det var der rigtig mange, der mente, hele 83% mente, at det var der nok noget rigtigt i. Remote connectivity hjælper virksomhederne med en overgang fra produkt til servicefokus, som eksempel udvidet support, produktgaranti med mere. Er du med på rejsen, skrev vi, og det var der 33%, der var. Så man kan sige, at der var stadigvæk basis for en hel del remote connectivity ud fra det her i hvert fald. Og så skrev vi, hvad vil være det største værdi for jer og jeres firma i forbindelse med anvendelse af remote connectivity. Og så blev svaret fjernopkobling, reducerede rejseomkostninger, vedligehold som service og udvidet service og dataopsamling. Og en af de emner, der ønskes at blive taget op, kan vi lige gå back?
Oh, sorry.
Ja, it's okay. En af de ønsker, der ønsker at blive taget op, det var risiko omkring opkobling op over internettet. Og det der cybersecurity, det var egentlig en gennemgående ting. Så det kommer vi selvfølgelig også ind på her i den her webinar. Og Davor, han fortsætter herfra, og han kører det på engelsk. Og
yes.
Det er bedst i forhold til svensk.
Yeah.
Men I er selvfølgelig velkommen til at spille spørgsmål på dansk, når I kommer dertil. Han forstår mere, end I regner med. Godt, Davor,
okay. Yes, thank you very much. And so let me just give you a brief introduction to HMS. And during this presentation, if you have any questions, we'll have a Q&A session at the end of this webinar. So a little bit on HMS. Basically, we are a Swedish company working with IoT solutions. We are a hardware manufacturer, and we currently work with solutions for industrial communications and IoT. We have at the moment 4 major brands that we promote our products with, and which are Anybus, Ewon, Ixxat, Intersys, and Ewon. We currently are about 660 people worldwide, and we work with mostly within the industrial automation area. And a lot of focus at the moment is like new technologies like 5G that we're currently developing products for. So a little bit for this webinar today is a little bit on the common challenges on the IoT landscape and why it's quite difficult for some companies to get started. A little bit like we tried to make this survey, which Per presented a little bit earlier, is that what we see is that IoT has a lot of potential, and 9 of 10 companies say that IoT is critical to their business success, and that a third of them expect to have a positive return on investment within 2 years. And this is a little bit of the reasons why like operational optimizations or employee productivity, quality insurance are some of the drivers in regards to the IoT adaptation. And also a lot of expect to have this growth of 20 to 30% over the next 5 years. So it's what we see here is that there is quite a lot of potential, and the way that machine builder wants to gain this competitive advantage is basically be able to offer internal savings, like reduce operational costs, but also to grow business. And with the reduction of operational costs, that would be to be able to do remote troubleshooting, fix first-time operations with smart diagnostics, and also optimize the engineer's workload. In addition to this is with IoT, they see that they can grow their business, and by connecting up machines, they can get more information of that machine, get the notification when something happens, and also be able to monitor that in real time. So there are many, the connected machines can then, sorry, lost my track here a little bit. There are only, there are a few parts of this in regards to the applications of IoT, and the digitalization of an organization does not happen overnight. So what the various companies will be going through are these 4 different phases according to this World Economic Forum, and they describe this as near-term phases and long-term phases. And most companies are in the where they are looking at operational efficiency and to be able to offer new products and services onto their with the help of remote connectivity. So what are the main challenges with for companies? Well, today is a lot of companies have begun to try out to connect the machines, and they're looking for various types of solutions. They always, some of them get stuck in the cost of scaling. They start with the one solution, and they have difficulties to scale up that solution. They go in to demonstrate pilots, but they don't really have the business case at hand, and there is a lack of necessary technology knowledge. So a lot of these companies, they will end up getting stuck in this IoT pilot purgatory, and so they, okay, how can they continue to take this small solution and scale it up? And so trying to get that from this small pilot up to a full-blown solution is quite difficult, and that is where most of these companies get stuck. Also, the security concerns are one big objection in terms of trying to get started with connecting up the machines. So what we see from our side is that there are basically 3 user cases. So what we try to see here is that we have something which we call on-demand remote connectivity, and that is basically to create a remote connection to the machine, to secure connectivity to a machine for troubleshooting. And this is what we see here is that a lot of this on-demand remote connectivity is required when you want to just troubleshoot the machine, when you have done an installation and so on. And then a lot of times you can avoid to travel to the site. So this is usually the first step that companies start up to do with, is to be able to get a remote connection to a machine for pure troubleshooting. And in that way, they can save a lot of this maintenance cost that they have. The other one, which is what we call on-premise data monitoring, is basically that to be able to monitor the performance of the machine, but still keeping the data local on the factory floor. But what we also want to be able to do is to offer a possibility to access that data remotely while keeping the data local. I'll get into that a little bit later on in this presentation. And the third application that we see here, or the use case, is trying to get data from the factory floor and push that into various types of IoT applications to be able to optimize the data for the production, optimize the production using various types of data and analysis. So what we do is we can offer that as using our gateway solutions, so that we do that through our products for remote access and for our products for which include data services. And we also do that together with a cloud solution. So to be able to offer these 3 value propositions, the on-demand remote access, the on-premise data collection, and the IoT integrations, we do that through the gateways that we have, together with our cloud service, which is our TalkTom cloud service, which enables it to be able to connect to these various types of devices and managing that. So looking at the as the first step of the on-demand remote connectivity, basically how that would work is that the lets you to connect securely to your machines to be able to do maintenance. And what we do here is we have a device that connects to the cloud solution, and from there you can then connect and view the performance of the machine, but also be able to access the devices which are connected behind the gateway, such as an HMI or a PLC. So this is usually the first step, where you start with the operational efficiency. So basically to get acceptance on this, how that works is that the gateway initiates an outbound VPN connection to the cloud service, and from there you can connect your PC. It connects to the cloud service TalkTom and initiates a joint connection, so you can access the devices. We also use the TalkTom cloud to manage all the devices, the users, and the connectivity, so you can reach the devices that you have your complete install base. And one really important part is that you can do a segregation of the network where what you can reach. So you can only reach the devices which are behind the gateway, and you cannot reach the rest of the factory network, which is really important when you want to get a customer acceptance on the security. So you can only access certain devices, and that is something that you can then control. So in here you can only access the device, the machine, but you can't access the factory network. So as the administrator of the TalkTom account, you can then manage all the connectivity, you can manage all the devices from there. So what we also see is that this is from the viewpoint of a machine builder, where you want to connect remotely into the factory floor to be able to be doing some troubleshooting. But we also see that a lot of end users want to control who has access to their machines. And we can use the same type of approach to be able to offer a standardized solution for the end user, for the factory owner, to be able to say to these machine builders, you can use this system to be able to connect to that machine, and you can also control who has the access to do that. And you can also monitor the connection, who has connected to this machine at which time, and so on and so forth. So this is the first step into going into the remote connection. What we also see is that there are different types of possibilities or requirements from users to be able to connect to the various types of machines. So what we do have here is that the possibility to be able to connect to a machine, to be able to do remote programming or HMI, connecting to HMIs behind the gateway. So this is your desktop application. What we also have is that when you're outside the office, or you won't be able to access the device, we also have a possibility to access that through a common web browser. And from there you can then connect to HMIs, to a webcam, and this is, or any device that supports VNC or remote desktop. Lastly, also what we have seen is that a lot of the manufacturers have their own proprietary HMI apps, for instance. So what we have here is that you can use a mobile app to initiate a VPN connection to the device, and then use this proprietary mobile app to see the information of the HMI or the PLC, and it creates a VPN connection to that. So this is the first, what we see for the as the first step to be able to do a remote connectivity, is just to do this on-demand remote connection, and that is really the first step that you do. The second one is the on-premise data monitoring, and that is when you want to go further in your digitalization journey and be able to start to collect the data. So we are moving the same gateway can then be used for on-premise data monitoring, which is for collecting the data locally and store that. And from here you can then, the device can then log the data inside the device. And if something then happens, it can then send out a notification. So this is, So this is the next step of on your digitalization journey for creating new products and services. So this is, you read the data from the PLC, you use the data which is stored locally inside the device to send historical data or alarm notification based on when something happens. You can then also display the key information utilizing the internal web server of the device, so you can locally see the performance of the machine. And what we also have is that the possibility then to remotely see that that data. One thing to point out here is that what we are actually looking at is real-time data. It's not the data is not stored anywhere else. We are taking a snapshot of the data that is being real-time data that is being displayed on the device, and we are able to display that remotely, either using our web portal or using the mobile app, but we don't store any information there. So the data is still local on-prem, but able to view it remotely. What we also have is that one of the key features that we have is that this real-time data can then be, you can configure up 6 KPIs, for instance, and you can then remotely go and see the status of that machine. And this is real-time values that are being displayed. You can then see the status, you get the alarm, you can see if there is an alarm notification. And this is a good tool to demonstrate to various types of customers besides the customers of the machine builder, and not only that it's a use for the machine builder, but it's for the targeting for the user of the machine. So this is a great way to share information of the performance of the machine. So looking at this, is it really the first step to start up with an IoT project without having to break the budget is basically you can get started with just buying a gateway, and you can then do remote connectivity to troubleshoot it, but you can also start to do this on-premise data monitoring very close, and you can then learn from that before you move on to the next step. So from here you can see the live KPIs, and you can see you can log into the web server using the cloud service and access the information which is stored locally inside the device remotely and see the status on that. The third application that we were looking at is basically data collection for IoT applications, and this is where we then move further down the digitalization journey, and here we can then send data either directly from the device using MQTT or HTTPS to various types of cloud providers or applications, third-party applications on the cloud, or we can then push that data up and use a link through the TalkTom cloud and use APIs to be able to do that. So this is where you can then use the same type of device, and you can start small and you can then scale up, and that allows you to start small and grow as you learn when you develop your business models and so on. So you don't get stuck that you have to start up with this pilot projectory where you start with one application, then you have to, and you feel that, okay, now I have outgrown this and now I have to switch and start up the journey again. So from here you can then start small and grow. So how does this work is basically that we have the same gateway which reads the data from the PLC. We can then send data directly to an IoT application using it with built-in connectors that we have for instance, for MindSphere or for ThingWorks. And this is, or you can design your own using the internal scripting functionality which is inside the gateway. And we can then send that data in a secure way from the gateway directly to the IoT application. And from there you can then do the data visualization, storage, and analytics. This is one way to do this. And the other one is to go through the TalkTom cloud. So you can still send data to the IoT cloud, but you can also still maintain this remote connectivity solution to be able to troubleshoot it. So troubleshoot the machine. And so you have one channel for data collection and one path for the remote access troubleshooting connectivity. So how does this work is basically with our APIs that the data still reads the data through the from the PLC, and then from the gateway it sends that in a smart way so you can have persistent data. So the device stores the data and then sends it up at the preset time intervals up to the TalkTom cloud, and then from there you can then use APIs to collect that data in a much simpler way. So it's an easy way to get started. As you see here also, we have HMS has a solution partner program where we work together with other companies which have built up their application and which have integrated the TalkTom APIs and then are able to offer an end-to-end solution, both from the gateway up to the analytics and visualization part. So, and again, even with the TalkTom APIs, you still have the remote connectivity to be able to do the troubleshooting or reprogramming of the PLC. So here, the benefit with the TalkTom part is basically that you have a scalability. You can get data from all your various types of machines. And we maintain that you don't lose any data on the way. And it's an easy configuration. So it's easy to start up with the on-premise data connection. Then you can just change the endpoint and then start to send the data to an IoT cloud solution. So which way is the best to go? Basically, what we have said is that with direct connection to an IoT platform, it requires that you have the knowledge and the capabilities to do that. And what we see here is that it's applicable for system integrators, for software houses, or for larger OEMs that they want to have expertise in building various types of applications, and where you can create your own connector on the device to send the data where you want it. The other one is to go through the TalkTom cloud solution, which is applicable for machine builders, and it gets really easy to get started, and you can then push that data through the TalkTom cloud into third-party applications. And so it's an easy way to get started with the APIs using get started with IoT analytics using the APIs without having to build up everything. Okay. So the last point here is a little bit on the cybersecurity. So what are we seeing from customers, and what are they requesting, and what is required by suppliers? So from here, what we see as more and more things are getting connected, what we see from customers is that they are requesting more documented way of they want their suppliers to have a structure in the way that they offers that their products are secure. And what we see is that more and more customers are requesting that, are you working towards with some sort of security standard? And the two most common one that we see is the ISO 27001 and the IEC 62443. And the differences between those ones is basically that the ISO 27001 describes how the company works in regards to the security within the company, and the IEC 62443, which is more in regards to industrial automation control systems and how you design and build them, and how they then are addressed based on the application. So there are standards which are applied to the asset owner, the system integrator, or to the component supplier. And what we also see is that more and more customers are requesting that, okay, how do you as a supplier maintain the security of the product during the life cycle of that product? So the questions like, how often do you do security updates, security updates, how is the data stored in your systems, who has access to them, and so on and so forth. So what so from HMS point of view, what we want to be is as transparent as possible, because we think that it's really important to be as transparent as possible to maintain credibility. And so what we do is any security issue that is with the product, we publish it on our website, so companies can see, okay, what is happening with the if there are any security issues with that specific product. So these are the two main things that we see requesting from customers. And so looking at the common security requirements that we see from customers also is when we see, okay, how do you install devices? Basically, what they don't want is any changes to the current IT infrastructure. So with the gateway, which initiates outbound data communication, it doesn't mean that they have to change anything in their infrastructure, in the IT infrastructure, and that means that it's easier to get acceptance from the IT department. The other part is that the LAN segregation, that you can only access certain things, certain devices on the factory floor. So to maintain the control either from the end user to give access to the machine builder, or that if the machine builder is connecting into the factory, then he's not able to connect to the factory network. And also one really important part is that the control of who, when to access it. In a simple way, you can control the connectivity. In our case, we can then implement like a key function, which means that only when it's on, you're able to connect from the TalkTom cloud into the device. Okay, so what from HMS point, what we security is really important. It's a priority from us, and we work today with our layered security approach, where we have different types of security from the device, the security implementations that we have done, and the encryption. So there are multiple layers on that. We also have in place ISO 27001. So the internal procedures that are being how we manage security within the company we have received that. We also have third-party companies that are doing penetration testing or security assessments of the platform. And we're also currently doing the IEC 62443 certification, and that is planned to be finished by during this autumn. So we see security as a really, really important part, and this is also to meet the requirements from customers that to have a documented way to present that we take security very, very seriously. And this is also the requirements from customers. So today, with our TalkTom infrastructure, we have about 280,000 devices which are connected. And this gives you quite good overview of the acceptance of the platform and the security measures that we have taken in. So I think that I tried to speed it up a little bit. So we are a little bit over time, so I'm handing it over a little bit to Per. And we're going to talk a little bit on our customer story. Per? I think you're muted. No, I can't. No, it's okay. Can you hear me?
Well, we can hear you, but not Per.
Okay, I can't hear Per.
No. Me too. So I think you just go through it and finish the webinar.
Okay. So what we do here is we have a customer called Multicheck, and we have done a little bit of a quick video that we want to show to you.
Jeg hedder Morten, arbejder ved Multicheck, som leverer udstyr til foodindustrien, farmaindustrien og non-foodindustrien. Vi leverer worldwide. Vi har maskiner stående rundt omkring i verden, og de maskiner skal selvfølgelig serviceres. For at spare tid og udgifter, og for at give kunden en rigtig god oplevelse, bruger vi øget, som vi installerer i alle vores maskiner, som gør, at vi kan logge på remote. Når vi logger på remote, så sparer vi blandt andet rejsetid, vi sparer udgifter til rejser. Vi servicerer kunderne, minimerer deres nedtid, får dem hurtigt over at køre igen. Så i stedet for at de venter på os nogle timer, nogle dage, så kan vi hjælpe dem i løbet af 5 minutter, og de er kørende igen og glade igen. Og derved opnår de også en rigtig stor besparelse. Når vi bruger øget og logger på e-catcher, så er det nøjagtigt ligesom at stå foran maskinen. Nu er vi online på en maskine et eller andet sted ude i verden, og det ser sådan ud, at vi kan se en røntgenmaskine, se røntgenbilledet, se produktionen. Der er slut. Vi kan logge ind, der er stop, alt hvad der er nødvendigt.
Nice movie. So there we go. And just a side point, we've been voted 6 years in a row as the remote access provider through the TalkTom cloud by the magazine Control Design. So it's been a very verified solution, and it works quite well. So, and it then offers, of course, time for customers to save money and reduce the workload of engineers. So we have reached the Q&A session. So if anybody has a question, so feel free to reach out. We are running a little bit over time. If you don't, then you're always welcome to reach out to us after if you have any specific requirements. We'll share this presentation with you as well, so you can come back if you have any questions on it. And I think that is...
Yeah. Thank you, Davor. Thank you, Per. Desværre så røg Pers lyd, så jeg er lige lidt stand inden for dig her, Per. Men er der nogle spørgsmål, så kan vi tage dem, ellers så er I meget, meget velkommen til at kontakte os efterfølgende, og vi sender os selvfølgelig den her præsentation til jer efter det her webinar. Okay.
Ja.
Det ser ikke ud til, at der er spørgsmål, så tak fordi I var med.
Ja.
Og en god dag.
Yes. Thank you.